Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. You know, we love digging into those unique corners of D&D history.
hmm
Well, today we're going way back to a concept that I think might surprise some of you.
Oh, yeah.
Zero-level characters.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
specifically, we're looking at how they were presented in the Greyhawk Adventures hardcover.
No, when you say zero level, I bet some folks are thinking like, wait, you mean like level one, but worse?
Right.
But it's so much more than that.
It really is.
It's like that raw potential before you've even picked up a sword or cast a spell. You're not even an apprentice yet. You're just starting out, and that's exciting stuff.
It is. It's
Yeah.
like that origin story before the origin story. Like
Yeah.
we get to see those formative moments that shape who they'll become.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that this book, Greyhawk Adventures, came out when AD&D was already well established, so they weren't trying to introduce a new concept. They were adding a new layer of depth to a world that players already knew and loved.
Absolutely. And the way they detail zero-level characters in Appendix 1, it really emphasizes that learning process. Like you're not just passively gaining experience points, you're actively fumbling your way through things, making mistakes, hilarious mistakes sometimes, and figuring out who you are in the process.
Oh, it's like a montage of almost comical trial and error before those heroic deeds start happening,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And think about it, in 5th edition, we start with at least some basic proficiencies, but in Greyhawk Adventures, you're a blank slate, like literally starting from scratch.
Right. And you know, that blank slate aspect, I think that's the core of what makes zero level characters so interesting. You're not a fighter or a wizard or a rogue yet. You're just someone with potential. And that potential, it gets shaped by your experiences, the choices you make, and I think most importantly, your mentors.
Mentorship, yeah, that's something this book really hits on. You
Yeah.
can't just level up on your own. You need someone to teach you the ropes, right?
Yeah. It's not just about, getting stronger, or learning new skills. It's about finding your place in the world. And Greyhawk Adventures, it actually lists a bunch of mentor types. You've got your basic ones like thieves who can teach you, basic skills, sages who offer, a wealth of knowledge. But then you get into those specialist mentors like paladins, monks, mages, and each one, they offer a completely different path.
And with each path comes, its own set of rules and limitations. Think about it. A paladin's strict code of conduct, a monk's isolation and discipline, a mage's vulnerability and armor. It's not just about picking a cool class, it's about figuring out if you can actually live up to those ideals.
It's a test of character even before you have a character class.
Oh, exactly. And that brings us to, I think, is one of the most fascinating parts of Appendix 1, the infamous learning table on page 119. Now, instead of just rolling a skill check, they introduce this element of randomness, where both hilarious failures and unexpected successes are possible.
Oh, yeah, and they give that great example in the book. Imagine a zero-level cleric trying to turn a vampire. Now, a first-level cleric, they might know the rituals and incantations, but our zero-level newbie, they might just, well, yell, boo, at the vampire out of sheer terror and enthusiasm.
And according to the learning table, there's a chance it could actually work.
Hmm.
Not because they're powerful, but because the vampire is so caught off guard, right?
Yeah, it really highlights that raw, chaotic energy that comes with being a zero-level character, and that chaos, it can lead to some truly memorable moments. It's like those classic D&D stories you hear, the kind that start with, so we were all level one, and...
And speaking of memorable moments, don't forget to subscribe, share, and ring that bell if you're enjoying this D&D deep dive. And be sure to leave a comment below with your own zero-level shenanigans.
Now back to this learning table. It seems like such a fun way to translate that zero-level experience into 5th edition, right?
Yeah.
You could even run a whole zero-level campaign where players have to rely on this table for almost everything.
Well, it would definitely add a layer of unpredictability and excitement to the game.
Oh, yeah?
Imagine a group of players all starting as zero-level characters, fumbling their way through a dungeon, relying more on luck and ingenuity than raw power.
Oh, that's such a good point. It could be a great way to really emphasize that sense of growth and progression.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about mentors and this crazy learning table, but let's dive a bit deeper into some of these specialized abilities. How does a zero-level character actually learn things like magic or martial arts? Let's start with magic users.
Well, one thing Greyhawk Adventures emphasizes is limitations. A zero-level spellcaster. They can only memorize one first-level spell or 4 cantrips per day. That's it.
Wow, talk about starting from the bottom, right? It's almost like a taste of what a sorcerer might experience having, a very limited number of spells known.
Yeah, it really forces them to be incredibly strategic with their spellcasting.
It does. It really makes you think about the role-playing implications. How would a zero-level mage with only one spell per day approach a dungeon? Would they hoard that spell for a critical moment or try to use it creatively to solve problems outside of combat?
Right. And the book also mentions the risk of spell failure, especially if the character has low intelligence, or if they try to cast spells while wearing armor, or using weapons forbidden to mages.
It really emphasizes the fact that magic at this stage, it's more about potential than mastery. You're not a powerful wizard yet. You're someone who's just beginning to grasp the fundamentals.
Exactly. And that makes those moments of success all the more rewarding, right? When you do manage to pull off a spell, it feels like a genuine accomplishment.
All right, I think we've covered a good chunk of the magic user experience. What about the monks? What kind of unique challenges do they face at zero level?
Well, monks are interesting because even at zero level, their path is all about discipline and self-control. The Greyhawk Adventures book, it really emphasizes how armor, even basic leather, it hinders a monk's movements and prevents them from fully utilizing their martial art.
It's like their body is their weapon, and anything that restricts that movement, it's a disadvantage.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the choices a player would have to make in 5th edition, right? Would they sacrifice AC for that extra mobility and damage output?
Yeah, it becomes a tactical decision,
Right.
right? And then there's the whole aspect of their monastic code. Any violation of that could lead to a loss of powers, and that's something that could be really interesting to explore, in a role-playing sense.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine a zero-level monk who's tempted to steal some food to survive, right? It's a classic moral dilemma. Do they break their code for the sake of their basic needs? I could see this leading to some really compelling character development.
Yeah, it's not just about being good or bad. It's about understanding the consequences of your actions. And that's something that Greyhawk Adventures really emphasizes throughout Appendix 1, this idea that zero-level characters are constantly facing these tough choices that shape who they become.
Yeah, and those choices, they have real weight because they're not just impacting their stats, they're impacting their entire path. We've talked about magic users and monks, but what about thieves? They're sort of the classic roguish archetype.
Well, thieves, like monks, they also face limitations when it comes to armor. Too much bulk, it hinders their agility and makes it harder to sneak around and pick pockets. But, it goes deeper than that.
Right.
How does a thief, even at zero level, navigate the moral complexities of their chosen profession?
Especially if they're trying to, maintain a lawful or good alignment. I mean, stealing is still stealing no matter how you justify it.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a constant struggle for those characters, and it creates some really interesting role-playing opportunities.
It does. This whole idea of navigating moral gray areas as a zero-level character, it really adds a layer of depth to the whole experience. You're not just picking a class and getting abilities, you're wrestling with these questions of identity and purpose.
Yeah. And that struggle, that internal conflict, it can be just as compelling as any epic battle or daring heist.
I completely agree. Okay, so we've explored the challenges and unique features of these 3 core archetypes: magic users, monks, and thieves. But Greyhawk Adventures also provides some intriguing details about the transition from zero level to first level. Page 124 to be precise.
That's where things get really interesting. It's not just about gaining a level. It's a pivotal moment of transformation.
It's like graduating from zero to hero.
I wouldn't go that far, but it is significant. Their alignment solidifies. No more wavering. They're locked into that lawful good, chaotic neutral, whatever they've chosen. All those choices they made as a zero-level character, they culminate in that moment.
It really emphasizes the importance of those early decisions.
And then there's the matter of ability scores. Instead of, increasing them through leveling, they're locked in at the moment they hit first level. Whatever you have, that's what you're stuck with.
That's a pretty big departure from how 5th edition handles things. It really raises the stakes. If you've neglected a key ability score, well, too bad. You've got to live with the consequences. It's a harsh lesson, but I kind of love it.
Yeah, it does highlight the realism of the system, right? You don't magically become superhuman just by leveling up. You're building upon the foundation you've established through hard work and, let's be honest, a bit of luck.
Right, and that brings us back to the learning table, which plays such a crucial role in that 0 to 1 transition.
Yeah, the unpredictability of that table, it really embodies that sense of both chance and consequence that defines the zero-level experience. You might get lucky and pull off something amazing, or you might fail spectacularly and learn a valuable lesson in the process.
It reminds me of those old school adventure games where you had to combine seemingly useless items in your inventory to solve a puzzle. It encourages creativity and resourcefulness in a way that traditional skill checks sometimes don't.
Right, and I think that's what makes zero-level characters so compelling. They force you to think differently, to approach challenges from a less conventional perspective. You're not relying on, powerful abilities or fancy equipment. You're relying on your wits, your instincts, and maybe just a little bit of dumb luck.
And who knows, that approach might actually lead to some of your most memorable D&D stories, the kind you tell for years to come with laughter and a touch of nostalgia, the ones that begin with "so we were all level 0 and."
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell if you're enjoying our deep dive into zero-level characters. Let us know in the comments if you have any zero-level stories. Who knows, we may even feature them in a future episode.
Now, the Greyhawk Adventures book, it goes beyond just the mechanics of zero-level characters. It delves into the specific challenges and adventures that they might face in the Greyhawk setting. After all, what good is a character concept without a world to explore?
Right. Greyhawk is already this rich tapestry of lore and adventure, and Appendix 1, it actually integrates zero-level characters seamlessly into that world.
It's almost like they were always meant to be there, and the book provides us with tons of inspiration for creating zero-level adventures in 5th edition.
Yeah, the key, I think, is to embrace the limitations, right?
Yeah.
These characters are not going to be taking down dragons or saving the world. Their adventures are going to be smaller in scale, but no less exciting.
Exactly. Think about it, a group of zero-level characters fresh out of their mentor's tutelage, exploring the slums of Greyhawk City, trying to earn a few copper pieces while avoiding trouble. It's a classic D&D trope, the humble beginnings of a legendary party.
Or imagine them venturing into the nearby wild coast, facing off against goblins or bandits, maybe even stumbling upon a hidden ruin. The possibilities are endless.
And because these characters are more likely to be commoners or apprentices, they would be more integrated into the everyday life of the community.
Right. They might have to deal with nosy neighbors, grumpy shopkeepers, or even corrupt officials. All those seemingly mundane interactions could actually lead to some really fun side quests and character-defining moments.
It's about finding the adventure in the ordinary. And I think that's a really appealing aspect of zero-level characters. They remind us that heroes can come from anywhere, and that even the simplest tasks can hold the seeds of epic stories.
And those seeds, nurtured by experience and choice, they eventually blossom into the heroes we all know and love.
Beautifully said. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the mechanics of zero-level characters to the narrative possibilities they offer. But there's one more crucial element that we need to address: the actual transition to first level.
That's right. The moment when all that training, all those trials and tribulations finally culminate in the birth of a true adventure. But we'll save that discussion for part 3 of this deep dive.
Welcome back, folks, to our deep dive into zero-level characters. Man, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? We've explored those humble beginnings, the chaotic nature of their learning process, and the unique challenges they face in a world that's not quite ready for their heroism.
And we even, unearthed some intriguing parallels between these old school concepts and the mechanics of modern 5th edition D&D. It seems like there's a timeless appeal to this idea of starting from scratch, of earning your stripes before you can claim the title of hero.
Yeah, it really is a reminder that everyone starts somewhere, even those legendary figures whose names, echo through the halls of D&D history. And now we finally arrived at that pivotal moment, the transition from zero level to first.
The moment when all that potential, all that raw, untamed energy is finally given form and purpose.
Yeah.
It's a transition that's both exciting and a little bittersweet, wouldn't you say?
I agree completely. It's like watching a fledgling bird take its first flight. There's a sense of pride of accomplishment, but also a tinge of sadness knowing that those early clumsy days are over.
And, in the context of Greyhawk Adventures, this transition, it's not just a mechanical advancement. It's a symbolic representation of a character's journey from novice to adventurer. Remember how page 124 emphasizes that alignment solidifies at this point. No more wavering between good and evil, lawful and chaotic. Their choices have led them to a definitive path.
Yeah, it's almost like a culmination of all those tough decisions they had to make as a zero-level character, right? Those moments where they had to choose between upholding a code of conduct or acting in their own self-interest, those instances where they relied on luck and cunning instead of brute force. It all comes together to shape their final alignment.
Precisely. And then there's the intriguing concept of ability scores becoming locked. In 5th edition, we're so used to gradual improvement, but here in Greyhawk Adventures, it's all about the foundation you've built. Those final scores solidified at first level. They reflect the choices you made, the training you received, and perhaps a dash of fate thrown in for good measure.
It's a fascinating approach that really highlights the consequences of those early decisions, right? Did you focus on strength training to become a mighty warrior, or did you prioritize dexterity to excel as a nimble rogue? Did you neglect your intelligence score, hindering your progress as a mage? Those choices, they have lasting impact, even if it's not immediately apparent.
It's a system that rewards planning and thoughtful character development. It also adds a layer of realism to the game, reminding us that even in a fantastical world, there are limits to how much one can improve. You can't just wish yourself into becoming a superhuman overnight. It takes effort, dedication, and a willingness to embrace your strengths and weaknesses.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the impact this has on specialization. Greyhawk Adventures mentions that unused skills can be lost during this transition.
Yeah.
It's like a natural pruning process, shaping a character into a more focused individual. Right. Imagine a zero-level character who dabbled in a bit of everything, a little swordplay, some rudimentary spellcasting, a touch of thievery.
Yeah.
At first level, they have to make a choice. What path do they truly want to follow? Which skills are essential to their identity and which ones can be left behind?
It's a moment of both liberation and limitation. You're free to embrace your chosen path, but you also have to accept that you can't be a jack of all trades. It's a concept that resonates with me even outside the realm of D&D. We all have limited time and energy, and we have to make choices about where to focus our efforts.
It's about finding your passion, your calling, and pursuing it with all your heart. And sometimes that means letting go of things that no longer serve you. It's a process of growth and refinement, one that ultimately leads to a stronger, more defined sense of self.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive into character development and self-discovery, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell. Let us know in the comments what resonates with you most about the zero-level experience. We've covered a lot of ground in this episode, from the nitty-gritty mechanics to the philosophical implications of starting at zero. But before we wrap up, I want to address one final point. Some people might argue that playing a zero-level character is too limiting, that it takes away from the fun of traditional D&D. What are your thoughts on that?
I understand that perspective, but I think it misses the point of the exercise. Playing a zero-level character isn't about power or optimization. It's about embracing vulnerability, about relishing the unpredictable nature of growth, and about discovering the hero within the ordinary.
Yeah, it's about those moments of unexpected success, those times when you roll a critical hit on the learning table and achieve something you never thought possible. It's about the bonds forged with mentors, the lessons learned through failure, and the gradual realization that even the smallest choices can have profound consequences.
And let's be honest, there's a certain charm to playing a character who's not burdened by expectations or predetermined destinies. They're a blank slate, a vessel of potential waiting to be filled by the experiences and choices of the player.
It's like those classic coming-of-age stories we all know and love. The underdog who rises to the occasion, the unlikely hero who discovers their true strength in the face of adversity. It's a narrative that resonates with us on a deep level, reminding us that greatness often emerges from the most unexpected places.
And who knows, maybe that zero-level character, the one who started with nothing but a dream and a handful of copper pieces, will become the legend that future generations of adventurers whisper about in hushed tones.
That's a beautiful thought, and it's a reminder that even in a world filled with magic and monsters, it's the human element, the journey of growth and transformation that truly captivates us.
So if you're looking for a D&D experience that's a little different, a little more grounded, a little more focused on the journey rather than the destination, I encourage you to give zero-level characters a try.
You might be surprised at how much you enjoy the challenge, the unpredictability, and the sheer joy of witnessing a character blossom from humble beginnings into something truly extraordinary.
And that, my friend, is the magic of zero-level characters.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into zero-level characters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell. And if you've ever played a zero-level character, be sure to share your stories in the comments below.
We'd love to hear about your adventures, your mishaps, and your moments of unexpected triumph. Until next time, keep those dice rolling and may your journeys be filled with wonder and discovery.